One of the most common conversations that I have with sellers when we're getting ready to talk about the list price for the home is, well, the house down the street sold for, and I get why that feels like the right place to start. And it kind of is the right place to start. But you're over there, you're living in the neighborhood, you've seen the houses go on the market, you've seen them sell, you toured them when they were open houses. And so I get it. But today I want to talk to you about why comparing your house when getting ready to sell to the wrong comps, even if you're not doing it intentionally, which you probably aren't, it can really throw off your pricing and it can make selling your house harder than it needs to be. Comes up a lot in Redmond because it's a small town and you see the same layout kind of all over the place. But once the buyers start getting in there and they're comparing your house side by side, the market starts treating it a little bit differently. So when we talk about comps, comparative homes, what we're actually talking about is the buyer's alternative to buying your house. It's not just the same neighborhood or part of town. Redmond has only one zip code, so we're going to be in the same zip code. But a true comparable is going to be a house that the buyer realistically considers instead of your house. So it's the kind of house that they're going to put on the list. They're going to ask for a tour. They're going to debate between your house and that house. And those houses are going to be within the same price range. They're probably going to be a similar age, similar size, number of bedrooms, that kind of stuff, layout, and then the level of updates if it's an older house. And even like the larger national consumer guides, they are explaining this pretty clearly. So Redfin has this thing called sales comparison approach, which is just a formal way of saying that buyers are comparing similar homes to decide what feels the most reasonable. And when the sellers and the buyers are on two different comparison sets, your expectations start to drift a little bit. So one of the issues that I see is, so when a neighborhood is built, a lot of times it's several different builders, and each builder is going to have their own, 3 or 4 floor plans and level of upgrades within each floor plan. And it's going to take several years to build the neighborhood. So in the same neighborhood, you're going to have different builders, different years of homes being built, different floor plans, different lot sizes, different ceiling heights, or even like amount of storage, or if the home is older, levels of renovation or upgrades from the builder. And a home that sold for more might not have sold because of the neighborhood. It might have sold because it offered something that the buyers valued more. And even if that doesn't feel obvious when you're living in the neighborhood day to day. This is something that Zillow points out in their pricing guidance. They emphasize that pricing should reflect the features, the condition, and the functionality, not just the proximity. From a buyer's perspective, these are going to show up differently once they start touring homes. So from a seller's perspective, it's easy to overlook because you're living in it. So you don't know, you're not living in that guy's house, you're living in your house. And that's where your comps are quietly misled. So something else to think about is comparing your house to like a brand new construction home or a house that's been like significantly renovated. Maybe they put in a new HVAC system. Maybe they ripped out all the carpet and put hardwoods. Maybe they just replaced a 30-year roof. They updated the kitchen with granite countertops. They put a big old soak-in tub, and everything is ready for the buyers to move in. It's completely ready to go. So even two homes that are the exact same layout, same square footage, same age, the buyers are going to look at them differently, because when they look at these houses that have not been updated, they're going to think, what do I need to update next? Or how much is it going to cost to rip out all this carpet and put in hardwood? if a house is priced as if it's been updated or renovated or something like that, the buyers aren't going to come in and say, yeah, all right, well, let's take off $20,000 for a roof. They're just going to move on, and they're going to find something that's easier to move into and a little bit more predictable for their pocketbook. So, something else, when you're going to list your house, you're going to look at a couple different things. You're going to look at the closed listings, you're going to look at the pending listings, and you're going to look at the active listings. But it's important not to focus only on the active listings, and definitely don't look at the canceled or the expired listings, because those show a couple different things. The active listings show what the seller hopes to get. It doesn't show what the house actually sold for. So anybody can list their house for any amount of money, and if it doesn't sell and the listing agreement expires, it will go into expire. Or if the seller decides, you know what, I want that amount and I'm not going to settle for anything less, then they'll cancel the listing and it shows up as a cancel. But that just means that the market did not pay what that seller wanted. And both Forbes and Zillow explain it. So sold homes is what is going to show your true buyer behavior in the market. And that's because the prices involve real buyers, real inspections, real timelines, and real closings. Active listings are still useful when you're going to market. You want to see where your competition is, and you want to kind of beat them a little bit, but it shouldn't be the foundation for your pricing. The sold data is going to carry so much more weight when it comes to understanding what the buyers are actually doing. So when you as a seller are comparing your home to the wrong comp, it doesn't just affect your list price. It's going to affect your early buyer interest. It's going to affect how long your house sits on the market. It's going to affect how the buyers are talking about it. Hello, Ring doorbell or inside cameras, nanny cam. And it's going to affect how those price changes feel later when you do eventually reduce the price to catch a buyer. So in the early weeks, it's really important to make sure that you have the right price, because that's when the most curious, most engaged, and most willing to compete buyers are out there. Once the house has been sitting for a little bit, they don't usually assume that the pricing was off. They're going to start to wonder what else is going on, like deferred maintenance, or maybe it's really outdated. So the goal isn't to chase the highest number on paper, or to get the highest net in your pocket. It's to position your home in a way that makes sense with people who are actually buying in that price range. So, pricing a home well starts with understanding what the buyers are truly comparing it to, not just what looks similar at a glance. If you're thinking about selling your home in Redmond, Oregon, and you want help figuring out which houses are your best comparable houses, that's a conversation that I'm always happy to have, and I love doing. We call them CMAs, comparable market analysis. I love doing them. They're very easy, very quick for me to do for you, and it helps us all get an idea of what you can sell your house for. So in my next video, I'm going to talk about what sellers should realistically expect for days on market here in Redmond and how that has changed in the last couple of years. See you next time.